Well, good morning. Another 3-hour night sleep, and I laid in bed for over an hour after I woke up, hoping to fall back to sleep unsuccessfully. Finally, I got up and I need to do this video. I've actually been up almost an hour already, so you can see figure out what time I got up or woke up the first time. It's only a little after 1 o'clock. Anyway, title. I never saw a court work like this one. Unbelievable. When I told the ambassador what happened in court, he said I was set up. He may be right. It was unlike any court proceedings I had ever witnessed. They did not address me by name, answer any questions, or follow any protocol that was familiar to me. I put a letter in there that I skipped. All they did was threaten me with contempt of court, arrest, and jail. I don't know what I typed here. That's why I'm pausing. What I want to say is I never acknowledged my name with any words from my mouth. But that's not what I typed. I never entered a plea whatsoever. I have to go back again on November 19th for the next round of their charade. It's all about threats, show of force, and slave control. It has nothing to do with law, truth, or justice. Whether we like it or not, we are all slaves on this planet. This is the physical reality. Can our spiritual reality ever affect real change? We have to answer that individually. And I got to work on that phrase that I type weirdly. Anyway, here's what happened. We got to court about 15 minutes inside the building, about 15 minutes before it was due to begin. And we weren't allowed inside until approximately 5 minutes before it was time to begin, before 9 o'clock. And we were told, everybody that was on the docket was told to line up and check in. When I got up to the desk of the court reporters or whatever their position is, could have been the state's attorney for all I know. But when I got up there, I said, I've brought the defendant with me, and holding up my birth certificate. And I was asked, and what's the name on the birth certificate? And I moved it closer. And I said, I filed an amicus curiae. And she said, well, we require you to be here in personam. And I said, and that's when I said I filed an amicus curiae, and I was told to go take a seat. So I went back and sat with my son and my friend Denise. And then the judge finally came in, and I half stood up. I mean, I did not fully stand into a fully erect position, and I held up my birth certificate, which was part of the file of papers that I had brought with me. Just to give honor to whom honor is supposedly due, although I do not find courts very honorable institutions. In any case, the judge conducted his court very differently. Everyone in the room, everyone, even if you weren't on trial, had to stand and take an oath to tell the truth, an oath or affirmation to take the truth. It was a collective effort. Then he went over how the court proceedings would occur, reading everybody their rights all at the same time, not individually, everybody at the same time, and explained that you could either enter a plea of not guilty, in which case you would come back on November 19th, or you could enter a plea of guilty, or no contest and resolve the issue right then and there and pay the fine. If you had a suspended driver's license, you would receive a reduced fine if you had reinstated it, which, of course, I actually reinstated mine the very next day after I got out of jail. I began the reinstatement process, which took 3 days. In any case, there was no individual instruction or anything. They called 2 names at a time, and the first name was to go up to the bench, and the second name was to wait until it was their turn. Truthfully, I did not hear my name called at all. Now, they may have called it, but what I noticed was a man had come from the front to my row, which by this time the people that had sat toward the aisle, we were in the middle of the row, had already had their case heard, so there was nobody between me and the end of the row, even though there was a number of maybe 4 or 5 seats. In any case, he signaled for me to come and talk to him. And I informed him that I had not signed in, that they had not accepted. He says, "We know who you are from your picture. We've already identified you." And I asked if he was from the state prosecutor's office. He was from the, what do they call it? I always forget that. The office of the attorneys that they appoint, the court appoints for you, the public defender's office. He was from the public defender's office and offered to represent me if I would fill out an affidavit or a form of eligibility or whatever, financial statements. And I said, "I don't need an attorney. I have filed an amicus curiae." I said, "I don't want to talk about that." He says, "Do you want an attorney or not?" "No, I don't." And then I started to go back to my seat, and I was sort of guided to go up to the front. Now again, I did not hear my name called. If they called it, it was during the time that I was being deflected, so that I I was paying attention to something else. I stood at the gate, not entering, and tried to determine if the judge had received my amicus curiae and the other paperwork. All that I was he did not answer my question. I was told that if I did not come forward, he would hold me in contempt of court, and I would be arrested and taken straight to jail. So I, under duress, UCC 1-308, which I didn't say, and there was no place that I signed anything, neither did anybody else. No place. I went up to the bench, and again I tried to determine if the judge had received my paperwork. And I was told that he was not there to answer my questions, that there were other people waiting, and all he wanted to know was, do I want to come back on November 19th, or do I want to plead no contest and get this over with? Those were basically the 2 options that he gave me when I'm standing in front of him. And again, I tried to question, and again he said, "Look, I can have you arrested for contempt of court right now. Make up your mind. Are you going to answer my questions, or what? Which one do you want? These are your choices. Which one do you want?" And of course, I said, "I'll come back on November 19th. I did not enter a plea. I did not say not guilty. I just said, "I'll come back," and they handed me a card. Now, when I got back, of course, the 3 of us left, and I was told that they had the bailiffs standing right behind me, one on either side. That was not something that was a normal thing. They were ready to arrest me. They were prepared to take me to jail. That's the reality. And my friend Denise, when I talked to her last night, she said she was scared for me when she saw them put bailiffs behind me, one on each side. And she said the shorter one of the 2, she says he was sort of weird. And she explained why, of his behavior. But in any case, the whole proceeding to me was weird. The whole proceeding. It was not an individual thing. It was just simply uh, a mass distribution of uh, injustice. There was nothing individual. It was just a slave market. You know, here's what's expected of you. You're going to do what we tell you to do, and these are your options. So they gave me the option of either continuing to be a slave while appearing free, or go to jail and have it really pressed home how much of a slave I really am. Those are the options. Now, for those of you that say, don't use your name, they can't do anything without your name, I didn't use my name. I didn't at any time say, I'm Ron Van Dyke. Not at any time. I held up a birth certificate. I held up a birth certificate. I did not appear in personam. My paperwork declared that I was not making a special appearance, that I was not, that I was there only as an agent and an authorized signature of the account, which is my birth certificate. That's the account, and I'm a signatory on that, which I said in the original proceedings that were held in the jail by closed circuit TV with the judge on, and he, okay, you know, I explained to him that judge that it was an account, that I was not the account. I'm the living human being. That's the point that I was trying to make. That's the point that all of us want to make. But they don't listen, folks. They have a railroad system, and they are going to fit us into the system no matter what we do. I didn't even get the normal courtesies of addressing me so that I could make statements even. And my statements were not going to be statements. I was trying to do everything in the form of a question to the best of my ability. But they took me totally off guard with their proceedings, and never, as far as I'm concerned, they never identified me except saying, there's a picture of him, we have his picture, and that's him. That's the one we want. Didn't matter what words came out of my mouth or not. Didn't matter how I behaved or not. Now, some people might say, Ron, you should have let him arrest you and take you to jail. Now, what good would that kind of martyrdom be? I couldn't do my videos from jail. I wouldn't eat. I don't want to drink their fluoridated water. I haven't drank fluoridated water in years. I've had, even when I was on city water, I've had reverse osmosis. I either bought it or had reverse osmosis in my home. Ever since I've lived in Florida, I've purified the water that I drink. And I very rarely drink any water that's not been through my system, or on rare occasion bottled water, which I can't vouch for its safety, but at least it's better than water out of the tap, is my thought. In any case, you can say what you want, and I would have liked to have stood up for the truth. I would have liked to make my point. The truth is, they don't allow truth. The truth is, they don't allow law. It's irrelevant. My paperwork was loaded with law. Supreme Court rulings, other high court rulings, U.S. code, filled with stuff that proved the point that I wanted to make. Did it matter? They didn't even acknowledge receiving it. Didn't even acknowledge receiving it. That's the reality of the court system, folks. They don't care. They don't care. We are their slaves, and they have guns to prove their point. And they don't have any hesitancy to threaten, to coerce, to manipulate. None of the contracts that they create are valid. None of them are with consent. But they operate anyway. Can we do anything about it? That's the reality. We need to understand that everybody on this planet, even they, are slaves. Even the bailiffs, even the judge, even the attorneys, even the bankers. Everybody is slaves. And we are controlled by a God. Call it the creator. I don't think it's the creator, but it's a God that is about domination and control. And that's the kind of planet that God wants, and it's the kind of planet many people are helping that God to create. But even the ones that are helping are slaves. That's the reality as I see it. And I have to make a decision. We all have to make a decision. How are we going to live? Will spiritual practices, will prayer, will blowing the shofar, will anything actually bring down the walls of Jericho? I don't know. We will see. Thank you for listening, and namaste.